Today we're going to be carrying on with popular music, so you're going to need something to write with, something to write on, and let's get started. So here's the do now. Pause the video and answer the questions. So hopefully you've had a chance to write the answers to these down. Let's go through some of these answers. A range in a melody is the distance between the highest and lowest note. Primary chords, we looked at these last week in the composition lesson, are chords 1, 4 and 5. That was 1, 4, 5 and then 1 again. The musical form that has the structure ABAA is 32-bar song form, and the speed that the chords change in a song is known as its harmonic rhythm or its rate of harmonic change. When all the notes in a piece are in the tonic key, so there are no notes that are outside of the key, this is called diatonic. If there were notes outside of the key, that would be called chromatic. So make sure you've marked your answers there, and we'll carry on into the lesson. So today we're going to be listening to some songs so that we can start to identify the different musical devices that we've been studying that are used in popular music. First of all, I'd like you to have a look at this music here. I'll play it for you once, even though I haven't got enough hands actually to do all of these notes, but I'll give it a go. So it sounds a little bit like that. I couldn't fit in the left hand because I haven't got enough hands. But pause the video now and answer these 7 questions about the music that you can see on your screen right now. Okay, hopefully you've written down those answers there or had a go if you were unsure. Let's go through these answers together. So, question 1, what is the key of this extract? Of course, to find the key, we need to look at the key signature, which is at the beginning of the piece, and it's this bit here. And we know that in sharp keys, you need to find the last sharp in the key signature, which in this case is the G sharps at the end of those key signatures there. And we know that we need to go 1 note up from that last sharp. So 1 note up from G sharp is A. So that means that the key is in A major. Now we're going to label the chords in the piano part. So I know that this here is the piano part because it's got the left hand and the right hand with the bass and the treble clef. And to label the chords, I'm just going to look at the bass line to start off with. So how do we find notes in the bass clef? I think I remember my little phrase to remember it is all cows eat grass, and I've written in the notes just there, and that's for the gaps. So this first note is in the gap, so I know that it's an A. So that chord is an A chord. And you can see in the right hand that we've got C sharp, E, and A. And if I add in the bass note, that's an A chord. And that's the key we're in, so that's called the tonic chord because we're in A major. The next chord, the chord stays the same in the right hand, so it's still an A chord, but the bass line goes up to the 3rd note of the chord, the C sharp. So it's the same chord as the first chord, but the bass note has changed, which means that it's a slash chord. So to label that chord, it's going to be A slash C sharp because it's an A chord with a C sharp in the bass, and we've looked at those in class together. So the 3rd chord is has an E in the bass, and you can see that it's an E because it's all cows eat grass, and it's an E G sharp B at the top. So that is an E chord. So I'm going to label it like that. The next chord goes up 1 note from E, A, B, C, D, E, F. And because of our key signature, I know that it's an F sharp. And so this is an F sharp chord, and it's minor. The next chord goes back down to this note here, so it's all cows, the note above C, which is D, and it's a D chord. And the last chord goes back down to the tonic, which is A here. So all together the chords sound like this. Hopefully you got those labelled there, and you can give those a tick or a cross and make sure you correct them. So the next thing that you could do to add to these chords is add their Roman numerals. So we know that a tonic chord is the Roman numeral I because it's number 1. And because that second chord is basically the same, it's called an inversion and we call it 1B. Some of you might know that, but otherwise it's basically still I. E chord is 5 notes up, so it's called 5. The F sharp chord is 1 note above that, so it's called 6. D is 1, 2, 3, 4, chord 4. And A is called 1 again. So make sure you've got those Roman numerals below on your sheet as well. So question 3 was to label the notes of the melody. Hopefully by now that we've done that labelling of the chords, labelling the melody should be really easy. We know that in the treble clef it goes, every good boy deserves football, every good boy deserves football, and in between that it goes face in the space, F-A-C-E. So I've written F-A-C-E in those spaces to help me, and so we know that this first one is A, the second note is C, etc. So these ones should be much easier, so I've just written them all out for you there, and you can give them a tick or a cross. Remember that because of our key signature here, every single time we've got a C, it's going to be a C sharp. Every single time we've got an F, oh, we haven't got any F, so that's okay. Every single time we've got a G, it's going to be a G sharp. That's why there's C sharps and G sharps here. Okay, number 4. Is the vocal melody syllabic or melismatic? Well, this depends on how the words are set to the music. And here I've just got one word. It's a bit of a cop-out. I set So I set one syllable with lots of notes in it. And when there are lots of notes per syllable, that is called melismatic. So the answer is melismatic. Listen to the melody again and tell me whether it's conjunct or disjunct, mostly. Because almost all the notes are next to each other, this melody is mostly conjunct. It's only got this small leap here. Otherwise, every single other note is next to the next note. The entire piece is diatonic because there are no sharps or flats that aren't in the key signature. There are no accidentals throughout this piece, which means the whole thing is diatonic. And the cadence in bar 3, here's bar 1, bar 2, bar 3, goes from chord 4 to chord 1, which we know is a plagal cadence. So pause this video, make sure you've got all of those answers, and let's go on to the next song. Okay, so I'd like you to pause the video now and go and listen to Say So by Doja Cat and answer the questions on the right here. So hopefully you've got those 5 answers now on your paper. Let's go through them together. So how many beats are in a bar? And there's a little clue in the music here. Here it's got a little clue for you here, but hopefully you heard when you were listening to the song that there are 4 beats per bar, and you can see from the music here that they're crotchets because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. and they're called crotchets. Let's think about the key again. So once again, we need to find the key signature. There it is at the beginning. And again, it's sharp. So we need to find the last sharp in the key signature, which is this C sharp, and go up 1 note from C sharp. A, B, C, D. So it's going to be D, and that means it's in D major. The chords, these chords are played by the guitar the whole way through. And that repeats the whole way through, and we know that that's called a riff. The song structure goes like this, and that means that it's got verses and choruses, so it's in verse-chorus form. And question 5, this was a bit of a challenge, because these chords are extended chords. Let's work them out together. So if we're going to label the chords, we're going to use the bass notes to help us. So this bass note here is all cows eat grass. It's an E. So that's the bottom of my chord, and then above it I've got a G sharp and a B, which means it's E, sounds like E major, but there's an added D. Let's see what that means in terms of the piano. E, G sharp, B, D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we've got a root, a third, a fifth, and a seventh, which means it's a seventh chord. So it's E7. Oh, sorry, it's not a G sharp, it's a G natural. It's an E minor 7 chord. And the next chord, what's the bass note? All cows eat grass, and it's the note above, so it's an A. And above it we've got, and we've also got a G and a D. So an A with a G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's a seventh chord. And then a D is a suspension in it as well, because it's meant to sound like this. But we've got a D instead, which is a suspended note. So this is a really challenging chord. So it's an A7 chord. And we're going to be looking at that some of those another time. Don't worry if you didn't get that one because it's quite tricky. The next chord has a, what note is this? All cows, and it's the note above, so it's a D in the bass, and it's got an F sharp and an A in the right hand, so that's a D major chord with a C sharp, which is the seventh again. So that's a D major 7. And then if you can see here, the notes are all the same, so the last bar is D7 as well. So that was really tricky. Well done if you've got some of those chords right. Pause the video if you need to here, otherwise we're going to go on to the next one. So, next song, pause the video, find it in the link in the description box below, and answer these questions on paper. Okay, hopefully you've got those answers. We're going to go through them now. First of all the instruments in this song that I heard, I put here, so drum kit, lots of electric guitars. I definitely heard a rhythm guitar playing chords and a lead guitar playing a repeated riff. Then I think that the chord instrument that's providing the really long chords in the background is some sort of synthesizer. And then you've obviously got the lead singer, and there's definitely a bass guitar in there as well. When the singer first starts singing, he's singing really high. It's not his real voice. He's like singing a lot higher, and we know from Freddie Mercury that that's called falsetto technique. There are 4 beats per bar in this song as well. Here is the structure. It's got really long choruses, so it confused me a bit when I first started listening to it. But if you include all of the different repeated sections as one big chorus or pre-chorus and then chorus, then it's actually quite a simple structure like this. Just in case you were wondering which bits I classed as the pre-chorus and the chorus, those are the lyrics. And the bit in the chorus is very, very offbeat. All the chords, the main beats are 4 beats per bar, and the chords go ba, 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 so you can hear that they're not on the beat that I'm clapping. Pause the video here if you need to. So that brings us to the end of this video. I'd like you now to go back to the Show My Homework lesson and complete the quiz that's got some questions about pop music on there.